Hello, welcome to the Daily Walk Devotion, just a short devotional based on Scripture to encourage you and strengthen you in your walk with Jesus Christ. Paul talks about how our faith, our devotion to Christ is like a walk, a daily walk, and so I want to encourage you and strengthen you and give you the resources necessary to make that walk better. And so today we are going to be in Daniel chapter 5. And we are going to talk about the writing on the wall. After King Nebuchadnezzar died, another king came on. His name was King Belshazzar. And King Belshazzar couldn't hold a candle to the leadership abilities of King Nebuchadnezzar. He was wicked. He was selfish. He didn't like Daniel. And so he had kind of put Daniel into retirement and just did everything wicked. Well, one night he was having dinner, a feast with all of his cronies, and he decided to bring out the Jewish holy instruments from the tabernacle, and that they had brought from captivity from Jerusalem. And so they brought out all that kind of stuff, and they began to eat and drink off of them. And about that time, they started to do that because those that were set aside to be holy. God started to write like a hand, started to write writings on the wall, and it just freaked Belshazzar off, and there was nobody who could interpret the language. And so, of course, they brought Daniel out of retirement for that. So let me read the scripture to you. Daniel 5, verses 5 through 6. It says, "Suddenly the fingers of a human hand appeared and wrote on the plaster of the wall near the lampstand in the royal palace. The king watched the hand as it wrote. His face turned pale, and he was so frightened that his legs became weak and his knees were knocking." And so, can you imagine eating dinner one night and God starts writing your destiny on the wall? And what do you think God would write for you? But in Daniel, as King Belshazzar was eating with his guest, a hand mysteriously appears and starts to write in a language he doesn't understand. And the only one who could interpret it was Daniel. And what he had to say wasn't good, because King Belshazzar's life would be taken that night. King Cyrus would come in, not King Cyrus, it was King Cyrus. I can't remember exactly, but he came in and they overtook the Babylonians and killed them, and King Belshazzar was killed. And, and it was God's judgment on a very, very wicked person. And he had the sacred vessels brought in. And that angered God, and that night Babylon fell. The greatest kingdom in the world that was supposedly so powerful it was you couldn't penetrate it, but yet the Assyrians found a way to do it, and they defeated them that night. And the real lesson to learn here is that we need to live our life with the knowledge that God is watching what we do. And for some, that will produce sudden fear. For others, it's going to produce a comfort. But sadly, for most, it won't change anything. The question is if God was to write something in your wall, what would it be? What would God write on your wall if he was going to write? Would it be, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant"? Or would it be, "Depart from me, I never knew you"? That's what we're going to hear. Those are the two things we're going to hear when we stand before him in judgment time. And maybe it would be, "I've given you so much, I wish you would have recognized me more." I always think of the talents. The 10 talents were given out. Each were given one. One came back with 10 talents. One came back with 5 talents, and one came back with the same one. And there's so many Christians who have been given these incredible gifts, and they don't use them. I've coined a phrase, at least in my own mind. Sorry about that. I've coined a phrase in my mind that it basically simply said, never has been so much given, and it been used so little by Christians. And I've seen so many talented Christians who have these incredible opportunities, and they never take them, and they're never used by God. And that's a sad indication. And the fact is, because one day we will stand before God. And I know this is not the most encouraging or uplifting, but sometimes we need to be exhorted, because the fact is that God has probably greatly gifted you and given you incredible resources. And we need to be using those for his glory. So I want to challenge you with that. Live in such a way that one day you will stand before the Lord. And what do you want to hear when he says things to you? So I just pray that you be that way. And God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of the day.